Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to become detectives. We're stepping right into the shoes of a hiring manager to piece together the real story of a job applicant using nothing but their complete application file. Let's dive in. So here's the challenge for you. We've got everything in front of us: a resume, cover letter, school certificates, professional references, the whole shebang. Now, on the surface, it looks pretty standard, but our job is to look deeper, right? To connect the dots between what's said and what's actually written down, and to uncover the narrative that isn't so obvious. You think you can solve the puzzle? Okay, first things first. Let's look at the story the candidate wants to tell us. This is his curated version of himself, the one he's carefully crafted in his resume and cover letter. This is our starting point, our baseline. So he presents himself as a digital designer, and he's not just general. He's an animation specialist, skilled in Adobe After Effects. He says he's got experience at 2 agencies, he's a team player, and he has analytical skills. I mean, that's a pretty compelling, well-rounded profile. This is the guy we're being asked to hire? And in his cover letter, we get to see his own words. He really emphasizes his technical affinity and creativity, and he's painting this picture of someone who's both a logical thinker and a creative artist. He's trying to check all the boxes for a modern design role, for sure. And this quote, this really says it all about his ambition. He's not just an animator. He sees himself as a full-stack designer, from graphics all the way to web and app conception. It's a bold claim, but now the real detective work begins. Let's see if the evidence in the rest of this file actually backs up this impressive story.
Okay, let's flip over to the education section. A candidate can claim pretty much anything, but diplomas and transcripts, those are hard facts. This is where we start to verify his story.
His educational path looks pretty logical. He starts at a gymnasium, which is like a college prep high school, then gets a diploma from the Creative SAE Institute as an audio engineer, and finally he completes a formal apprenticeship in Germany as a media designer. So yeah, this shows a consistent, evolving interest in the whole creative media field.
And his performance at the SAE Institute looks pretty strong. He graduated with a final grade of 81%, which, according to the document's own key, is a good performance. So far, so good, right? This seems to support his claims of being a capable creative professional. Now, if we dig into the details of that SAE diploma, we see some interesting stuff. He scored a fantastic 90% on presentation, so he clearly knows how to sell his work. But the feedback on his technical audio mix is a bit more constructive. It notes things like the drums being too loud. This tells us he really excels at the big picture, conceptual presentation side of things. And this is the crucial question. The SAE Institute is a private, project-based creative school. His apprenticeship in Germany, though, that's a state-recognized vocational program. So, how did he do in a more structured, traditional, academic environment? And right away, bam! We see a really fascinating contrast. On the left, you've got that positive, project-focused feedback from SAE. But on the right, from his vocational school report card, we get a very different picture from his teachers. The story is starting to get a whole lot more complex.
The puzzle pieces are starting to form a totally different image now. His teachers in Germany describe him as leicht ablenkbar, easily distracted, and they note he was sometimes spät in den Unterricht, late to class. This really clashes with that image of a focused professional team player he was trying to sell us.
Wow. Okay, this bar chart is incredibly revealing. Just look at that split. He scores very good in information technology, which, hey, that totally proves his claim of technical affinity. But in media production, the actual core of his chosen field, and in business organization, he scores deficient. This is huge. It suggests he's great with the tech, but he struggles with the creative production and organizational stuff, at least in a school setting. And just so we're all on the same page about what these grades mean, here's the German grading scale. Deficient is a 5. That's just one step above an outright fail. And his final exam result from the Chamber of Commerce was a 4, or ausreichend, which literally means just sufficient to pass. So he barely scraped by. This is a major red flag for a role that needs top-tier design skills. But, school is one thing, the workplace is another. Maybe he thrives in a professional environment. So let's shift our investigation to his professional reference letter, his Arbeitszeugnis, to see what his old boss had to say.
Now, this part is really important. A German work reference isn't like one you'd see in the US or the UK. By law, they have to be written in a positive way. So employers use these specific coded phrases to communicate a worker's true performance. You really have to know how to read between the lines.
So, on the surface, this phrase, zu unserer vollen Zufriedenheit, sounds fantastic, doesn't it? To our full satisfaction. I mean, what could be better? An untrained eye would see this and think it's a glowing review. But is it?
And here is the secret decoder ring. In the coded language of German references, full satisfaction actually means a grade of 2, or good. It's solid, don't get me wrong, but it's not the highest praise. The top grade, a 1 or very good, would be stets zu unserer vollsten Zufriedenheit, always to our fullest satisfaction. The fact that those keywords are missing tells us his performance was good, but it wasn't exceptional.
But wait, there's another really important clue here. The reference says his behavior towards his bosses, his coworkers, and clients was only total, or beyond reproach. Now, this is a direct contradiction to that school report about him being distracted and late. It strongly suggests that when he's in a professional setting, his conduct is excellent. Interesting.
Okay, we've examined all the evidence. We have the candidate's story, the school records, the coded reference letter. Now it's time to bring it all together and build a complete, nuanced profile of who this person really is.
So let's map his claims against the actual evidence. His claim to be an animation specialist? Well, the work reference confirms he created animated monitor displays. So, check. His technical skill? Those very good IT grades are undeniable. Check. Professional conduct? The reference says it was beyond reproach. Big check. But his overall performance? The school records show a major weakness in core media production and a final exam grade that was just a pass. That's the big contradiction we have to figure out.
So, what we have is this kind of dual profile. On one hand, you've got a technically gifted person with great professional manners. On the other hand, he seems to struggle with academic effort, specifically on the creative production side of his field, and he's had issues with focus and punctuality in the past. He's not the perfect candidate from his resume, but he's not a definite no either. He's complicated.
We've done the detective work, we understand his strengths, his weaknesses, and all the contradictions in his file. And all of this analysis, all this digging, it all leads to one final step, the interview.
So now, I'm going to leave you with the final challenge. You've seen the full file, you're the expert. What is the one critical question you would ask this candidate? How would you get to the bottom of this disconnect between his amazing technical talent and his academic struggles in media production? How would you ask about the difference between his conduct at school versus at work? Your question and his answer could be the final piece of this entire puzzle.